Welcome to Meeting of the Moms, a place to talk about all the things. I'm Amy Rasmussen. I'm a teacher by profession, a wife and mother by choice, an optimist by nature, and happy by design. I'm here with my good friend Lorna, who I call one of my greatest cheerleaders.
Hi, I'm Lorna Adams. I'm a wife, mom, and certified life coach. I strive to embrace and enjoy each new phase of life. Here at Moms, we believe the world is wide open to all of us and that we have unlimited potential. We're so glad you're here.
Today we're coming to you from real life. Lorna and I got talking before we got on here to record, and we're like, whatever, we're just going to record and we're going to be real. So we're going to start with a real celebration. My celebration today is that I decided to get dressed. That sounds like I don't get dressed usually, but I'm like, you know what? I'm actually going to put something on besides just a t-shirt. So that's my celebration today. Lorna, what's yours?
My celebration is I was able to get ready in just a few minutes because I had forgotten we were meeting and my son's home sick. I had a couple other things on my plate this morning and forgot to get ready. So Amy texted and I called her back and said, I totally forgot. Give me a few minutes. Anyway, 15 minutes later, here we are. So that's my celebration. Okay. Quick ready day.
Yeah. Well, and a celebration that we rolled with it. We just got on with how we are. So we've been talking a little bit about our aspirations, things that we'd like to do. And first of all, one thing that we would like to harness is a digital calendar, which might make most of you laugh because you might be like, oh, the digital calendar is a thing in 2024. But for us, we love the bullet journal. So Lorna, what are your thoughts about wanting to harness the digital digital calendar? I keep saying the digital camera, the digital calendar.
So the things that I love about a digital calendar is that all of the recurring dates are in the calendar. So I know Valentine's Day is this particular Tuesday or whatever day of the week, right? I know my friends' birthdays, your birthday, like birthdays are on there, anniversaries are on there. And so it can just be recurring and I don't have to think about it. But because I use a bullet journal and I have a calendar in there, I don't always remember to transfer those dates over. So yeah, trying to enjoy the use of the digital as well as the hard copy that I love.
Yep. Well, about the hard copy, I am just starting to harness a little bit more of daily reflection and a little bit more of weekly reflection right there on my calendar where I look. So I use a week in view format in addition to like the months in view. And on that week in view format, I figured out how just at the end of the day, I can just write a couple notes about things that went well. And that is something I don't see happening so much in the digital calendar. I remember stuff better if I write it down. It just works for my brain. Are there other things that you enjoy about that written format for you?
I think that's a big part of it is then I think I can organize my days a little bit better too, because I'm seeing them open in a blank space and then filling them in. So I do a month in view calendar for like this month, it's February. So I have a 1-page spread of February. And then each week I pull out just a 1-page sheet that is Sunday through Saturday. So then it's a fresh slate. And then I'm writing everything in on that for the week. And I just love that I can organize and see what's going on. And then like you, I'm writing it out. So I'm remembering it better. Aside from today, we were getting today. This is a different schedule than we normally do. But I just love the clean slate and then filling it in as I need.
Yeah. Yep. I have a friend who's helped me with a couple of things with the digital calendar. So I am just kind of playing with using the digital calendar along with the paper calendar. And one thing is to harness the color coding, which I know this is not new. This has been around maybe for decades now, but I used to color coordinate it with my different kids. And so different colors that told me like one kid had events going on, but this color was stuff I had going on. So I did that for a while, but just recently I've started color coding it with, this is an appointment outside of the house. It's red. Just because I need to really be aware of that. It's not something that I can just be fluid with because a lot of my day can be somewhat fluid. And so I just need to know this is not a fluid thing. If I want it to happen, it's got to happen. So I have some different colors that way. With our time, I have it yellow because it's something we do recurring, but something I just started doing is like, if we move it like we did this week, I would change it to orange. So it just alerts me. I'm doing it at home. but it's orange. So like pay attention. And so I'm just in the very beginning stages of it. The other thing I love is using the color gray to have something penciled in until I confirm it. And so for me, each week on Friday, I take an hour to review my week and I take an hour to look at the next week. And I know that sounds like 2 hours of planning and people are like, are you freaking kidding me? It's fine. Use a half an hour, use 15 minutes, whatever. But it's amazing that using that time for me actually frees me up the rest of the week because I know what's going on and I've made a plan. And so I'm not scrambling all the time. But if I have it recurring, but it's in gray, then each week I can look at those gray things and I can be like, yep, that's when we're meeting. Or no, we moved this that week. And so I can move it and change it to orange. So it's a couple clicks. And I'm, like I said, I'm just in the beginning stages, but it's been kind of fun to experiment with that.
And with the digital calendar, I do love the notifications. I think that can be so helpful too, as give me, sometimes for my dentist appointments, I'm setting them 6 months in advance. I set them at our last dentist appointment. And so then I can say, alert me 1 week before and then 1 day before or whatever. So I do love that as well. So I do feel like I'm using both, but there's definitely some refining and honing in on things to make it more effective.
And just like harnessing it, right? Like harnessing it and seeing like which ideas work for you, which ones don't. I mean, that's what I'm doing, right? Just trying to harness, like I know it's out there and lots of people have figured out what works for them, or maybe not, maybe they haven't. They're just like, this is good enough for now. So I'm just trying to harness it.
I don't know if we said it was Ryder Carroll's bullet journal. The bullet journal method is where we've come across the information about a bullet journal. And it's just a notebook that has, it's a dot grid. And so it's just easy to add. I don't think you'll be able to see this, but it's just a grid on in my notebook. Every page is the same. But then we can we can draw in a calendar. We can draw in a chart. We can just write just like we would be taking normal notes. Anyway, it just has been fun to see all the options that Ryder has talked about in his book. And then lots of other people that do the bullet journal method have done as well. As you look online, you can find lots of options.
I'm glad that you brought that up. So one other thing then with the bullet journal too, is some people use it as for just goal setting, or they use it as in a very artistic way, which is fun. It's super fun to see all those ideas out there. Mine tends to be a lot more utilitarian, and I would say that Ryder Carroll's is as well. It's much more of a planning tool for me and a reflection tool. And so there are times when I add some color. One of the things I love about Lorna's is that on her calendar, on her month in view pages, she added some color. And so this year, I feel like some fun. I'm adding color. Last year, I was like, I want it to be as bare bones as possible. I don't want to have to think about it. So I didn't add color. So it's just great that it changes in the blink of an eye. If February is like, I don't care about color, it's fine. It can still plan with it. And then if March, I'm feeling super colorful and artistic, I can do that. So we've been using it probably for about 4 years. I don't know if you realize that, but I think it's 4 years that we came across it and we kind of both started using it at the same time. That is not always the case with us, but with this one, we're both like, we're going to try this.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to bounce ideas back and forth. And for me, it's been a solution to the traditional planner. One of the things that I've struggled with traditional planners is that it just locks me in and I can't change at the drop of a hat. And I have learned about myself that I like structure that can be very flexible and fluid. And so I love the structure of the bullet journal, while at the same time, I love that I can just change at a moment's notice. And I know other people really love structure that's just there for them. And it's like, I don't have to think about it. I can just follow the steps that are in my printed planner. And I made a decision in January. This is what I was doing. And so I love that there's just lots of options for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Well, and too, before COVID, I used to use pen in my bullet journal and lots of things. And since COVID happened and life was changed, I use a pencil way more on my calendars specifically. I still do lots of notes in pen, but in my calendar. So then it really is so easy to be adjusting in the moments. And then yes, as you're talking to, as we're like creating a new calendar, how I want it to look for this next month. I'm going to do it a different way possibly. And that it just does allow for so much flexibility.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought up pencil, because just recently I have been thinking about wanting to just focus on boundaries, like my own boundaries with myself, not when anyone else is here, just me. And one of the thoughts that came to mind is start deciding that you're going to do things and write it in pen. And I'm like, nice. We don't use pen, but I don't want to use pen. I want to be so flexible. And flexibility is so great to a certain point, but at some point we can flexibility flexibility ourselves right out of the things we want to do. And so just within this past couple of months, that is one of the things that I have chosen to do. So when I do my planning time on that Friday, I am going through and I'll text Lorna, I'll text you, and I'll say, all right, here are the things I have down for the week to confirm. And once those are confirmed, I write them in pen. And so the things that the appointments just with myself, I'm like confirming and writing in pen. But here's the thing. Yesterday, I had this plan. It was with myself. And then I felt like there were some needs for my kids. There was a little bit of overwhelm going on with some of the kids, with the things they have going on in life. And so I was like, I'm going to switch gears. I still have the flexibility to do that. And I found another pocket of time to do the things that I want to do. That'll be tomorrow. And just had to cross it out with my pen. And it was fine. But at COVID, it just wasn't fine to a certain extent because it's like, I can't plan on anything. And so it's interesting how, at least for me, writing in pen now, at least some things, and I started just certain things are written in pen because there are other things that I still pencil in. But I really try and put those commitments in that are to myself and that kind of stuff. So that's been fun.
Totally. And I love that point. Amy Porterfield, I'm doing just a 2-week class with her. Actually, it may not be Amy Porterfield. It actually probably is Jody Moore. Anyway, but just talking about how a lot of times we don't prioritize our own things. We prioritize everyone else's. If we have a job, we have to be there. We're committed to these hours. Our boss tells us to do things, we do those things. Our kids need things, we do those things. That those are the things that we are more committed to than our own things. And so looking for opportunities to be committed to our own thing. And it's okay to say, hey, yeah, I have something else at this time. I won't be able to work it in then if somebody else is asking you for something. But and I think it's so valuable in the example that you just gave yesterday, is that yesterday felt like a day that, yeah, my kids really do need me. This is a time I'm willing to be flexible. And then there's other times, oh, my kids just want me to drive them somewhere because they think it'd be fun to go there. All right, let's call that time, because this time I have my schedule blocked off for me to be working.
Yeah. And what was so interesting is last week my oldest wanted to do something yesterday, and I said, I need to know how important this is to you, because it does have to do with his future, and that's like a big thing for us right now because he's a senior. And so I just needed to be able to find out how important it was. And I told him, this is a day that I've set aside for these things. So if this is really important to you, I am willing to look at some different options. But if it's just like, well, that's a day it could happen, but it could also happen next week just as easily, then let's figure that out. And that was great because then he could say, Mom, I don't think we have to do it that day. So we were able to adjust. Of course, then the day changed, but I think that's where it helps us to know what our priorities are too. And for me to realize, like, and I'm doing better with this now, but part of the reason I love the flexibility I have right now, and that I am still choosing to be at home rather than have a very committed schedule outside the home, is so that I can be flexible for the things like yesterday. And at times I can be very rigid in my plan for myself, actually. Like sometimes I tend that way. And so I've also done the pendulum swing where I'm like, okay, I don't want to be rigid in the plans for myself where I can't let anything else in. So I've pendulumed the other way and just been like, whatever. And I'll just do whatever I feel like in the moment. But there are times where I want to hold to the thing that last month's Amy decided was important, because it's still important to me. So it's just interesting, the whole mix of all those things. So I'm glad you brought up that point of figuring out how to prioritize our own stuff. Or if you're someone who gets rigid with your own stuff, figuring out how to be like, but I feel like there's a priority here too that's outside of my own stuff. So how can I be a little flexible while still taking care of me?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so good. And really, there's no right or wrong way. It's okay to feel rigid for a while. And then we can also evaluate and be like, yeah, that's not exactly how I want it. Exactly. I do actually want some more flexibility, or vice versa. It's nice to have some routine, some schedule. Yeah. Good.
And that's what's so fun about noticing. Just noticing about yourself. Like, oh, this feels rigid to me. Okay. Or, oh, this feels a little too loosey-goosey. Something else that we were laughing about just before we got on was the fact that you can, if you're on like YouTube, you all cannot see our desks. So everything looks so fantastic, probably even more orderly at Lorna's because of her background than at my house, where you can at least see my bookshelf or whatever. But Lorna showed me her desk. So do you want to talk about your desk and then I'll talk about my desk?
So just right off the screen, I have mountains of notebooks and books. I have a few different Book of Mormons because I'm teaching primary and I take those in, and I have my other manuals. I'm also teaching temple prep every other week and emotional resilience. Anyway, I just have mountains and some of my coaching notebooks. Anyway, I can show you, but it is definitely mountains beside me. I'm glad that the camera just does a perfect shot of just me.
Yep. Well, and so Lorna, are you going to show them? Okay.
Well, I'll show part. Here's, oh my goodness, yeah. So there we are, mountain of stuff. All those Books of Mormon. I don't know if you can tell the old ones. Anyway, yep, there we are.
Yep. So I was laughing when Lorna told me that because last week that was totally me. And usually I kind of write some notes as we're recording or whatever. I wrote no notes because I'm like, I can't cram my notebook in here and write notes. So this week I'm like, I want to be able to write notes. And I done a little bit of tidying. So I have hills instead of mountains. So that's another celebration. But I just took those hills and I set them on a different chair. And I go through phases. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just making sure my desk is clear every day and it feels great. And other times I'm like, I'm not making that a priority. So Lorna, I think you had said, I just really want to find a different system here for the stuff that's on my brain. And I am currently playing with a system right now where I just have a file folder for each day of the week. And so things that I want to do every day, once I do it today, I'll move it into the Wednesday folder. And then it goes in one of these little cubbies behind me. And I honestly can't remember now. I don't think that comes from April Perry and her mom office because she has a mind organization for moms that she does based on David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. I think it actually came from a conversation about that with a friend who listened to another organizing podcast. It was like, here's an idea, but I can't remember. So I'm just letting you know it's not mine, but I've just started taking that day of the week folder. And then if there's something that I don't have to look at again until like something that happened yesterday and it's on a weekly basis, it just stays in Monday's folder. And then I put it at the bottom and I'll see it next Monday. Or some of those things where it's like, okay, I made that appointment for like my son's learner's permit. And here's all the information for like teaching my teenager to drive. I want them to see that again when we have the appointment and it's next week. I just put it in that day. And so it helps it to be off brain. But so often the things that are like half off and half on brain are in my piles.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing with that. That's
Totally.
what I'm playing with too.
Yeah, love that idea. Well, and I was going to say too, back with the bullet journal specifically, I do feel like I have less sticky notes laying around because I do have a place to write notes. So I typically have had I still have 2 sitting right here, but that is way less than I have had at times. So I have a spot in my journal where I kind of write daily, and I'm not saying I do it every single day. Just it's kind of a daily spot where I can write notes. And then as I'm organizing my calendar, then that's also a time where I could say, I'm going to be organizing my desk, or I'm going to be pulling out whatever, right?
Yep.
Driver's ed stuff or whatever. So, but yes, there's still more that I need to be doing about all of this stuff.
Well, and I think everything is just always a process because there's certain maybe habits or routines that I have started and they have worked really well for a while. And then it's a different season of life, or you move houses and then you're trying to figure the things out again. And some of the things I figured out at a previous house work at the new house, but some things for whatever reason don't. There was one year, I have 3 kids, and there was one year, actually there are 3 years, I had all 3 kids in a different school. And one of those years was 2020 to 2021. So kind of that COVID time, and all the schedules were crazy. So instead of like each school having kind of their schedule, there was like the Monday schedule for the elementary school, which was different from the Monday schedule for the middle school, which was different from the Monday schedule in the high school. But those were all different from the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedules at the same school, which was different from Friday. Like it was crazy. And I could not for the life of me that year figure out when my elementary school kid got out of school on Friday. Because I'm like, what schedule is this? Because I was like every single day at every single school had a different schedule. And so at times like that, like it's hard. It's just hard to manage. So just know that there's the seasons of life, and certain tools work for a while and maybe then they don't. And then maybe you come back to them and they do work again, or you find something new. It's just a roller coaster, and it's lots of fun.
Totally. Well, and I love a phrase that you've shared over the years about how life and stuff just tends to chaos. Like things are like, we can have things well organized, a well-oiled machine, whatever, with routines, with our desk, our habits, whatever. But eventually things do go to chaos. And so then we just have to reassess, reevaluate, and then start again. Like clearing off the whole desk, putting back on what I actually want, putting things where I want them. But I just love that phrase. And I do think about it from time to time because yeah, we're human. This is normal. Like things are going to go toward chaos and it's okay.
Yep. Yep. Well, first of all, I wish that were mine, but that also came from someone else. But I guess
you share with me.
Wise is the woman who says it, and wise is the woman who listens, right? So here we are. But I did just say that. I made that up. So let's just celebrate that I made something up. But the thing I loved about the lady who talked about everything tending towards chaos is she also talked about the creation of the world when she talked about it, and that order was created out of the chaos, and that our gift to act and to be agents is to bring order to chaos, and that we have that amazing creative power. And she talked all about bringing order to things as this like creative thing, just like it's creative to do art or to create a podcast or to write a book or whatever. And it just opened my eyes to a different way of thinking about chaos and order. And then it's so much easier to accept, to be like, oh, yep, life is normal. Things are tending towards chaos. And am I at a place right now where I'm going to bring this particular chaos to order or not? Because sometimes the desk chaos can reign and it's fine because we're bringing order to other things. Recently, you talked about being able to have just kind of a different perspective on dinner with your family. And I can't remember the phrase you used now because it was a great phrase. Do you remember it?
I don't remember the phrase, but just the idea of I want to make dinner because then I actually get to hang out with my family. Is
right.
That what you're
I think it's something like gathering with your family. So yeah, like focusing on, I love to hang out with my family. So I can enjoy making dinner because of that. So maybe you're bringing order to chaos right there, right now, and that's important. And so you've got mountains, and you know what? The mountains are so patient. They will wait there forever. They don't grow up and they don't get bitter and resentful. They are just still there because they just are things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Totally. And I think about it with my bathroom. Like my bathroom, like every week or two, it needs to be cleaned again. And I'm like, really? And then that reminder of like, yes, of course, it just tends to chaos. Everything eventually gets dirty. Things get dusty. We have to dust. We have to wipe away the cobwebs. I'm not saying I'm on top of all of those things, but I just love that reminder of that's what it is. That is what life is it supposed to be that way?
Yeah. And we only have to wipe away the cobwebs or the stuff if we choose, like, this is a priority for me today.
Yeah. Yep.
My husband writes love notes to me in the desk sometimes. And I'm like, actually, that's a lie. He writes notes to me in the desk. I have chosen to receive them as love notes because they usually say things like, dest me or hi. So I might start writing notes to him like, love you. Or, you can write me love notes in the desk. So even as you just said, like, what we have to do is if we want a certain thing, like we want a dust-free surface in whatever area of our house, then it's not just going to go away. It's not like we're going to have some magic formula. The bottom line is it's work, it's effort. We get to come in and create the thing we want.
Yep.
And yet if we decide to leave the piles or the dust or whatever, it's also a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So good.
Before we send you off, we want to do a little recap of the different ideas that were part of this episode.
So you can look up Ryder Carroll's The Bullet Journal Method if you want to look into ways that you can customize your own type of calendaring and organizing. The Bullet Journal Method is a fully customizable planning tool. So you can do it however you want, cater it to whatever your needs are. So that's an idea. And then prioritize your own things. Like for me right now, clearing off my desk isn't the priority, but trying to have dinners is. Like trying to be prepared for dinner time on those evenings when we're home, that is a priority. And so just prioritize your time. What is it that is the priority?
Yeah, great. And then consider when you see chaos in your space, of just realizing that chaos is the natural state of things without a creator present to do something different. That might help you just realize, okay, without someone who's here to change it, chaos is what happens. And when things tend towards chaos, you don't have to worry that you're doing it wrong. That's just kind of how it is. The other thing is that you can look for opportunities to create. So one way to do that is to look for an opportunity to create order and look at that as a creative act rather than drudgery, which I get it. It can be drudgery. Or if you would like to kind of take creativity in a different direction, I think it was President Uchtdorf at the time, October 2008 General Conference. He gave a talk called Happiness, Your Heritage. And there's a section in there that talks about our ability and desire to create. And he really kind of opens up the idea of creativity. It's not all about just art or just about cooking or whatever. There's lots of things that one can create. So that might be something to read and be a good starting place to find something that you can create today that will bring you a little more joy.
Thanks for coming to Meeting of the Moms. We hope it made your load a little lighter. We'd love to hear what's on your mind. Send your celebrations, takeaways, and suggestions for future topics to momswithamyandlorna@gmail.com.
If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe. If this isn't the right fit for you, we wish you well on your journey. Until next time, I'm Lorna Adams.
And I'm Amy Rasmussen. See you next week at Moms.